Let's go gather some food. Do you see it? Some over there. And there's some over here. In fact, that's where we're going. Right there. Come on, I'll show you. I think you'll like it. Well, it's not real hard to tell that the rabbits around here aren't getting hunted real hard. This guy right there doesn't seem to be too worried about us. And he is just right there close. Let me see if I can snap a picture of him while I'm wobbling the camera around. Maybe. Anyway, that's not why we're out here. Hey everybody, this is Rob, and it is a beautiful spring day. We've got a big old field full of wheat right out there that has come up and got green with the rain we've had, and we've got a field over here that has nothing planted in it yet, which isn't very green. That's the typical color for around this part of the world. But more than anything, right now what we got, and the reason that we're here, is we're going to gather a little bit of food off of the trees out here. This is something that, oddly enough, I didn't really know about until just a few years ago, even though I've grown up around these trees my whole life. These are called Chinese elms. And there's several different kinds of elm trees, but the Chinese elms are one of the few that just grow easily out here in this part of the world. You can see, just looking around, this is not the kind of place you come if you want to find forests. We don't have any. Once in a while you get around where somebody lives, kind of like at my place, and there'll be a few trees growing around, but for the most part, there's another place over yonder. Let's see if I can zoom into it. You can see one of my neighbors. He's got a lot of trees growing around his place. But that's about it. Once you get away from the little homesteads and things like that, there's not much in the way of trees unless they got planted, or in the case of these guys right here, which reproduce themselves fairly enthusiastically. Chinese elms grow lots of different ways. Sometimes they break out in about a dozen different trunks, kind of like this one did. And sometimes it's just one long good trunk that breaks into a real tree, kind of like that one right over there. That one grew up, made a big old good shade tree, and they just really don't require much water. Now in drought years, or if we have some kind of a disease comes through, it may kill a bunch of them. And there's always tons of wood, dead wood up in them, as they decide to quit on a branch and try to grow some new ones. But this time of year, before the leaves come on, the first thing they do is they put out these seeds. And they're easy to recognize, because I think they look kind of like oats. Kind of like rolled oats that you buy. See if we can get a close enough look at that it'll be easy to see what it is. And when they dry and turn brown, they even look more like oats. You can see them, they're about the same size. But the trees, and this tree is getting close to done with it, maybe because we had a little bit of a freeze a couple of nights ago, but it didn't hurt them too bad. But these seeds are good. There's actually a word, samaras, I think is what I read that they were called. I don't know, I'm not always big on fancy stuff, but I do know that they are edible, and they don't have a lot of flavor, but they're kind of sweet and they're kind of good. And from what I've studied on them, I have found that they have some antioxidant and maybe even what did it say? Antibacterial or antibiotic, I think is what it said. Antibiotic effects. And I don't know about all that. But it's a good source of food, and when they're green and pretty like that, I got to believe they got a little bit of nutrition in them as well. Now, what we'll do is we'll gather a few off of this tree. I just brought it over here because it was quieter. The chickens are just going crazy up there. You'd think they'd be busy laying eggs, but they're not. So we're going to gather a few of these. They're the easiest things in the world to gather. You come up to a limb that's got a few on it, kind of like that guy right there. Just get them by the back of it. Just strip them right off. And you get a handful of them. And these can be eaten raw. I'm back here in the back part of my place where I store all my extra wood that we get for just in case. A lot of it sat out here so long it's gone rotten, but I've got it just in case. But these can be eaten raw, or they can be sauteed, or they can be steamed. In fact, something I was reading this morning said that over in China, one of the things they do is they will kind of mix them with some cornmeal or some flour, and then kind of steam them and then stir fry them. But I'm just going to gather a bunch. Now, interestingly enough, some friends of ours have a daughter who married a kid from China. He's a preaching student over here. Hong is his name, and Hong's parents came out one year and saw these trees in bloom and just went crazy, gathered up a couple of large paper bags full, like grocery bags, and then took them back home. Now, it's like a lot of things. They don't store real well. You can dry them, but then they get a little bit crispier, or you can freeze them, and then they get a little bit mushier. Something I read said that when you dry them, or after they're dry, if you get them after they're dry, you basically just kind of grind them down. Right in the very middle of it, if you can see there, is a seed in the middle. It's not very big, not much bigger. I don't know even how to describe how big it is. A big one might be as big as the end of a pencil eraser. Most of them probably aren't that big. But we're going to gather a bunch of these, and I'll come back in a second after I get a little box full. We'll see if I can fill up that box right there. That's not a lot of them, but this is a very seasonal thing. These only, I mean, there is a short window from the time that these are ready until they are all gone. A week ago, none of them were ready, and now a lot of them are gone. It's almost too late for some of them. So we're going to gather a few and see what we come up with. We'll be back in just a minute. All right, now here's a tree right here, kind of over by my shop, a lot bigger tree, but it has already dropped all of its seeds, except for maybe a few just kind of here and there. But it's putting on leaves now. The seeds are gone, and now it's starting to bud out with fresh leaves and that kind of thing. And the leaves can be eaten too. I don't think they're quite as good, and I don't know if it would be okay to eat a whole lot of them or not. I really haven't eaten that many, just a few here and there. But some of the other trees still have plenty, so we'll gather a few more off of those, and then we'll be good to go. All right, well, it took literally nothing. Rooster, go away. It took literally nothing to gather up that little box full right there. So it was pretty good. I may top it off a little bit more, but you can see there's just plenty of them in there. But now there's a stick. Now that sticks don't cook up as nice. You might just get a few more. But this tree, you can see, is just pretty much loaded up here too. But I'm telling you, it won't be but a couple of days and it'll be all done. Now as you look real closer, you can see some of the other little, I guess you could call it trash, but it's just a little stuff that comes out with it. That doesn't hurt anything. You can't taste it, you can't tell it's there, it's no big deal. So all the little pieces and stuff that are not the seeds, they're no big deal. It isn't worth, you could rinse them and maybe rinse some of it out, but I promise you, you can't tell they're there. Here, I'm going to get it by so I can turn everything around here. This is hard to do one-handed, but you can see they're not bad. Yeah. Yeah, this batch here is, you know, it tastes kind of like dandelion flowers, to be real honest. And I never thought about that. But it's got kind of a sweet, slightly strong taste. And not strong in a bad way, but just you can tell it's there. Even for a toothless guy like me, though, they're not that hard to chew up. This morning, what I did was I took a great big handful and put in a bowl and then scooped a little bit of shredded cheese and my grits that I had just cooked over the top of it while they were still hot. All right, now we don't need you. Nobody asked you. Go away. Quit. Get. And I cooked them in that way. And that kind of steamed them or cooked them. I don't know. There's probably a word, blanched them. I don't know what it did. But it made them pretty good. And I did it like that. And only could slightly taste them by doing that too. That's one of the things about these. These tend to absorb or get covered up, might be a better word. Yeah, that's what I thought. By whatever they're with. More often than not, what we have done historically more than anything else is we put them in salads. Just make a salad and just mix a bunch of these in with it. Just kind of for a nice flavor. And a lot of times just to show people you can get out of here if you're going to be noisy. But these really are tender and good. And it's just a great treat at the end of winter when there's nothing else really green, nothing ready to pick, None of that kind of thing. To be able to come out and just get lots of these and all of a sudden add a bunch of green, yummy goodness, freshness to your diet. Now, obviously, even at this point, with things going crazy, we've got grocery stores and all kinds of other places to go get fresh foods and salad stuff and all like that. But this is just a good thing to know in case times get tougher, which they might. Anyway, that's just something I thought I'd share with you. If I can think of anything else to throw in here, I'll add it in, but that's all I can think of. If you're somewhere, oh, I was going to mention, from what I can tell, pretty much any species of elm that grows these are all good to eat. They're all okay. Everything I read said that pretty much all the different elm varieties that make these kind of seeds are still good. So there you go. There's bound to be something like that in your part of the world. I know these trees pretty much grow from Maine to California and from Canada to Mexico. So good luck. Cheers. Someday I'll teach these chickens to be quiet and not make so much noise. Maybe. Chickens are slow learners though. All right, bye.